So it's actually the end of August now, and it's been about a month since I filmed my summer tour, but I just haven't got round to putting the video out yet. But a few things have changed since I made it. Not as much as flowering anymore, and we've had Storm Lillian, which has made all the beds look a bit windswept, but she didn't do too much damage. I thought maybe it would take this Echium out, but it seems to have survived all right. I think the worst of the damage is just snapping off a couple of heads of my Delphiniums and knocking a couple of pots over. So here's the tour that I recorded back at the end of July when it was a nice sunny day. After a bit of a slow start to the summer, the weather has finally warmed up a bit. The plants are all coming out into flower, so I thought it would be the perfect time to do a summer tour. Starting on this bed here, near the gate, I've got some nice flowers on the wall in this trough, some petunias flowering away nicely. Then in the bed itself, these little yellow flowers, which is a bulb that I've grown from seed probably a few years ago now, and this is the first year it's flowered. And I think they look really pretty there. It's called I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I think it's Albaca Shawii. So yeah, I quite like how they've turned out. I've also got these Cosmos. I think the variety was Rubinata, and I grew that from seed this year. Then we've got this Gladiolus, which has come up nicely. I never dig it up, and it always seems to come back, which is not quite flowering yet, but hopefully will do later on. I've got this little Hutinia. It looks quite pretty there. Adds a bit of colour. More Cosmos. I think this one was just part of a dwarf mixed. Then coming up here, we've got this Clematis. And it's flowering really, bees seem to be enjoying it. And it's been flowering really well for quite a while now, most of the summer. And I've been deadheading it as well, taking off these little stems once they've finished flowering. And it just keeps going. And I think it looks really pretty there. It's sort of spread down here as well. Then at the back here we've got this Verbena bonariensis. They always seem to do quite well. And growing through it, and up here, and on the wall is this Thunbergia that I sowed from seed at the beginning of the year as well. And that's got loads of pretty flowers coming on it now. I'm really liking that as well. And I'm just letting it grow through all this, and it's actually doing quite a good job of holding it back. Usually this ends up flopping over onto the path, so I'm just letting it wind around it. So yeah, overall I'm quite happy with that bed, and I think it's looking quite good this year. This is the bed about a month later. It's filled out even more. Got some Delphiniums that are flowering now, and the Thunbergia is spread a bit. It's full of pretty flowers. The Gladiolus is flowering now, and I've got a good, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's one coming up here, 5 stems on it, so it's good. So yeah, coming along nicely. Then coming through here, we've got another Clematis. This one is called Osmoshiro, and it flowered really beautifully at the beginning of the year, but it's having a little second flush up here, which is a bit of a bonus. Got a few more buds coming through there. They're a bit smaller than the ones that came out earlier in the year, but they're still looking really pretty. Then down here, we've got the new bed I made at the beginning of the year, and we've got a couple of hostas that are doing quite well. This one's just starting to flower now. This is Runty's little ramp into the greenhouse, and a couple of new plants at the back here. This is the Campanula Pritchard's variety. Sort of got a bit droopy, so I just tied it to that bit of fencing. And then this is the Lythrum Blush, which is only just starting to come into flower, so I'll see how that looks. I thought the colours would go, the blue and the pink go quite nicely together. This is a nice grass, a nice variegated grass I've got there. This is a Filipendula Meadowsweet. It's not flowering yet though. And a Juga. This is the one that Runty keeps burying herself under, so it's been a bit uprooted. This is a geranium that was flowering really beautiful earlier, and I've cut it back a bit to try and get it to flower again, but it's not quite there yet. I've also added a begonia and London's Pride. So it's all helping to fill out that bed a bit nicely. I'm really loving how this bed's looking now. It's looking really colourful. My Echim's still flowering, but it's started to sort of lean over the lawn a bit this way. But the bees are still enjoying it as well. So in this bed, I've got a canna that's still growing. Some more cosmos that I grew from seed. This rosemary, I'm thinking about taking this out this year and putting something else in there because it takes up quite a bit of room. And I don't think it's ever going to flower in there because it's kept well manured and well watered, and they prefer a bit harsher conditions to flower, I think. So I might take that out this year and put something else in, maybe something a bit more colourful. Thinking I still want something with a bit of height, so maybe like a standard rose, or I've got a standard geranium that I'm making this year as well. Maybe I'll put that in next year if it gets tall enough, we'll see. Then more cosmos that I sowed from seed this year. This is supposed to be dwarf cosmos, but some of it's got really tall. These delphiniums I started from seed a couple of years ago. They've all come out sort of, some more back there, they've all come out these bluey colours, so I might buy some seeds of more specific, different colours next year. Get a bit of a mixture. Then down here I've got a few leucanthemum, banana and cream, and I'm really loving how that looks. I love the daisy effect. I think it looks really pretty and summery, and it goes nicely with the pink cosmos and the blue veronica, which is flowering nicely now. I've had to give this veronica a bit of support down here. I've got some strings going around it as it was just falling right on top of these leucanthemums. So I've tied that back a bit. Another cosmos. Here's some astrantia that was flowering early in the year, but it's kind of done now really. I've got a buddleia back here. Now, this one isn't supposed to take up too much room. It's called Butterfly Towers Magenta, and it's only just started to come out into flower. I do really like the smell of buddleias, so I'm hoping that will give me some nice aroma. Then at the back here, these foxgloves I sowed this year. They're F1 varieties called Dalmatian F1 White, and they flower in the same year you sowed them. So I sowed them in like February this year, and they're flowering now in like late July. So they flower a little bit later than other foxgloves, but they'll flower in the same year that you sowed them, which I thought was quite good because I hadn't really planned ahead. I need to get on and sow some now for next year. But I'm really happy with how these have come out as well. I think they're looking really nice. I quite like the white colour, and they've come above everything else there. Echim, still got bees coming to it. It's got all these long bits now where they've already flowered, and the flowers are right at the end now. So it's looking a bit different than it was at the beginning of the year. But it's still going. Runty's just chilling out down here. She looks pretty chilled out in the sun. In this back bed, I've got more delphiniums. I quite like this bluey colour, sort of seems to have like a bit of a hint of purple in it. One of those Japanese painted lady ferns. That one's actually in a pot there. And I've got some zinnias that are flowering nicely, and some more along here. These have been a little bit tricky. I've lost a couple, and they've been looking a bit sad at times. I think what it is like they seem to like quite a bit of water, but not be sitting in water. So they have to be in well-drained soil, but be watered quite frequently, I think, to be happy. And I think some of them got a bit dry and weren't very happy and they died. I think that's what happened. But like this one, it's still not looking great. So they're looking pretty colourful now, though. There's a Lobelia Queen Victoria there that's just coming up. And a rose here, which isn't looking very happy in the corner here. I think there's some flowers up the top there, but I'm not sure it's the best spot for it. It doesn't really get any sun there. What have we got behind the chair? Another fern. This is a rhusse. Keeping it in a pot because I know how they like to sucker. And this conifer just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I think I might need to put it in a bigger pot soon, or give it a good trim, another good trim. I've already given it a bit of a trim this year. If we come around the back of this bed, you can see those foxgloves. I've got this Hydrangea paniculata vanille fraise here, which is just starting to come out into flower now. They have these big flower heads and they have this pinky tinge to them. They look really lovely, but they're not quite there yet. There's another Lobelia Queen Victoria in there. A couple more delphiniums, more cosmos, looking really pretty there. I'm really happy with how the cosmos has done this year. And a Echinops. That looks like it might have a bit of a flower coming on there. And of course the kiwi, which is just going absolutely nuts now. It's going up that drain pipe. It's gone up there over the wall. It did get a load of flowers on it, but they've all dropped off. It was so cold at the beginning of this summer. I think they really need the right conditions to become fruit. And I think it's hard to do it up here in North Yorkshire. I've seen one a few years ago that produced loads of fruit, but I think we had a really warm summer and that's what it needs. So I'm not sure I'm ever really going to get any fruit off it here, but you know, it covers the wall nicely. So I'll keep trying. This verbascum's just sort of come up through the kiwi there. But I thought I'd just go with it. We've got this thyme down here called Silver Queen, and that's got a few flowers coming on it as well, and I quite like how it's sort of spilling over there. Got an antirrhinum flowering there. Oh, this is the new aster I bought actually, White Ladies, and it looks like it's just starting to make some flower heads there, so should have some flowers on that a bit later on. I've got a Campsis up here as well that I'm trying to grow up the wall, but I've had it a few years and it hasn't done a lot, to be honest. I thought it would be quite happy here. I know they like warmer temperatures, but this is quite a sheltered corner. It's south facing. They've got the house there sheltering it, so I thought it would be a nice little microclimate for it, but it's been quite slow growing. I did have a flower on it last year, but I haven't seen any coming yet this year. Hopefully it'll put on a bit more growth. Now that it's started to warm up a bit, it has been very cold. The lawn, I did in my previous video. I've added these stepping stones this year, and I'm really loving them. They've got these little patterns in them, and they're quite small, so like my foot just fits on them. But I thought any bigger would just sort of overwhelm the garden a bit. Another new addition to the garden this year is this brick wall. I just had a bit of wood here last year because when I first moved in here, this path was covered up, and it's the original path of a lean-to greenhouse that was against this wall like many years ago. So I've uncovered it, made it a usable path down to a little chair and this little fairy, but I need to get the fairy plugged in because it's not doing anything at the moment. But yeah, I added the brick wall. I did it myself. I was going to do a video about it, but it was my first attempt at making a brick wall, and I thought it best just to keep it simple and try and focus on getting it done because I was struggling a little bit. But I'm quite happy with the final result. I don't think it looks too bad. I mean, it's not perfect, but not bad for a first try, I think. This salvia hot lips I grew from a cutting last year. It's looking nice there. Pop into the greenhouse quickly. Got some nice tomatoes coming on there. Looking forward to eating those. And I've got Runty's little house. This is the standard geranium that I'm trying to grow, so I've tied it to a stick and I keep taking out any side shoots or flowers that it's putting on so that it'll grow up. Hopefully I'll get it nice and tall, and then maybe I'll put it in the middle of that bed there next year instead of that rosemary. Up here we've got lots of cuttings I've taken of coleus and more geraniums. Probably need to take those flowers off just so it can focus on getting bigger. Oh, this is that bulb I bought last year. So I planted it, and within a few weeks I saw a little shoot, but it just stayed like that for months, and only recently in the last couple of weeks has it started to put on a bit more growth. I wonder if it was just the temperature again, but it's just been so cold. it does seem to have timed perfectly with the weather warming up. It's starting to grow again. And then, within a week, the flower stem was up, and over the following week, it opened up into a big, bright red ball. So, here we are, round the front of the house now. I've got lots of colourful plants in containers, my little table, some hanging baskets. Over here, I've got this nice bright pink hydrangea that's come out beautifully into flower now. I've got another tomato here growing up by the front door. There's a couple down here which are ripening up now. And I've got a few of these hot pink Sophinia petunias around the front here. I really like how striking the colour is. I think it really stands out. Then I've got this erigeron, which was looking a bit straggly a couple of weeks ago, but I trimmed it all back and it's putting on some new growth and some more flowers again now. I'm hoping it will self-seed everywhere and come up in all like the cracks in the paving, which are all just kind of full of weeds right now. I haven't done a very good job of keeping on top of them, but some of them are actually quite good as runty food, like this sow thistle. She loves a bit of sow thistle, so they come in handy. This is a pot I've just planted up with a mixture of plants. I've got this upright geranium and this Thumbelina petunia, a couple of trailing geraniums in there as well, but they're not really flowering at the moment. And then in this bed, I've got another one of those Dalmatian foxgloves, a canna, which is growing nicely. This is Salvia patens. I had a few in here last year and I left them in because I grew quite a few from seed and I didn't need that many, and they're not supposed to be fully hardy, so I thought they'd die over the winter, but they all survived, so I've left one of them in and it's doing quite well. Some more delphiniums at the back here, and then we've got these are leeks which have started to flower. And I've had to give them a bit of support because they were all just falling over the front here. But the bees seem to quite be liking them. And I think they look quite good when they flower. I've left some Honesty seed heads in here because they go quite nice in the winter. And I've also got a couple of lilies that have finished flowering. So I've just deadheaded them and taken the bits with the flowers on them off, but left the leaves on there. There's also a rose back here. It's called the Generous Gardener, and I've got a few bits coming out here, but I really want to train it up this trellis here. It was flowering, but I deadheaded it the other day, so there's not much on it at the moment, but I think that will look really pretty. It's sort of this light pink colour, so if that was just filled, they've got a really lovely scent to them as well, so I thought that would be really nice right by the front door. So hopefully that will grow a bit more next year. So that's that side, which is looking nice and colourful. As it's been a few weeks since I filmed this tour, I've got a little update on this bed. The leeks are looking good there now. Got some more delphiniums flowering, and the rose is putting on quite a bit of growth. I need to train that into the trellis. And I've also got this evening primrose that's come out in flower, and the canna is starting flowering as well. So, also my Generous Gardener. And then over this side I've got another Salvia Hot Lips by the front door, which is doing well. Then in my hanging basket I've got a Bacopa, more of that hot pink Sophinia, and then a blue Sophinia. These Sophinias have actually done really well in here. They're looking really good this year. Giving quite an effect. I'm always deadheading them whenever I get the chance. Every time I walk past, I'm taking another dead head off. A few little plants on here. Echeveria. Still haven't sorted out that pot that cracked. This side I've got a few more flowers. Another hanging basket, which is the same as that one over there, which is also looking pretty good. Then we've got against this wall, against this trellis, which I've painted blue, to match my shed. This honeysuckle is doing much better here than it was on the other side of the wall. I think it got a bit too much sun on the other side of the wall, and here's a bit more shaded, so it seems a bit happier for that. It's got lots of flowers on it at the moment. This canna is doing really well. It's getting really big now. Hopefully it won't be long before that's putting a flower up. It's been a few more weeks and the canna's just shot up. It's got really tall now. It's taller than me, and it's got a few flower spikes coming on it. You can see the orange of the flower just starting to come out there. Yeah, so I don't think I've grown one that tall before. I think it's looking really good. I've got an agapanthus that is pretty much done flowering now, and I need to cut them off, but they look really nice when they are flowering. Some more of those zinnias that I've got around the back bed. I put a few in a pot as well. I think they're looking quite colourful. Another little planting combination I made there. More of that hot pink Sophinia and the blue that's in the baskets. Nice coleus and this creeping Jenny here. This is a fuchsia trifila. That's just starting to have a few flowers now. I've got an upright geranium here, sort of starry red one. That's the same variety that I'm trying to grow as a standard in the greenhouse at the moment. There's another upright geranium here. Some silverleaf. There's a brown grass back there with another houttainia. I think that pot's had the same thing in it since last year. I've just sort of left it there. I think that's everything around the front covered. It's looking quite nice at the moment, I think. I've got a few bits up on the wall here. This hasn't flowered yet. It's an alpine. I've forgotten what it's called. Globularia. I think it's supposed to have little blue flowers, but it's definitely been growing bigger and bigger. Hopefully I'll get some flowers at some point. Another painted lady fern. Here I've got some lamb's lettuce that I've just planted for Runty. She quite likes eating those. Around the back here, my raspberries are doing really well. They've grown really tall this year. Got lots of raspberries coming on them. I haven't had any yet, but there's quite a few just coming now. They're autumn raspberries, so it's still a bit early. This is an echium that I'm trying to grow in a pot. I'm hoping to overwinter it in the pot, and then maybe next year it'll flower. But it's filled this pot really well, and it drinks a lot of water. It's very thirsty, so I might think about potting that up again soon. Gooseberry. This just gets eaten every year. It puts quite a few gooseberries on it, and they all get eaten by birds, I'm guessing. They always all just disappear, so I don't mind feeding whatever. Got a few blueberries, but they're still quite small plants. Oh, actually no, there's a bit of fruit on them there. So that's good. Some there as well. I've got 3 because you're supposed to get a few different ones that pollinate each other. They're supposed to fruit at all different times, so you have like a constant supply, but I'm not sure if it always quite works out like that. It's a bit weedy back here, it's a bit of a mess. It's my wild area. Some lovely antivinums in that trough, which I've also painted to match the shed. And that rose in that pot is flower carpet pink. I only bought it last year, so it's still quite small, but it's already putting on some good flowers. I really like how these antivinums have come out, actually. I think they look really pretty. This is a phormium that is full of weeds, but we had a really cold winter a couple of years ago, and it died off. So I cut the top off, and it's put out all these different stems from the bottom, and they're all coming up nicely. So I've just sort of left it to grow like that. I took a few off because there were a lot more than that. And here, what else do we have? This is an Acer that I bought last year. I've kept it over here because it's a bit shadier and they don't want to be in direct sunlight, but it's still quite a small plant. But it's quite interesting because it has white leaves, which I think is a bit different looking. This is a Buddleia alternifolia. A lot of these plants I've got in these pots aren't really happy. I mean, I should probably weed the pot, that would probably help. There's quite a lot going on there. I think they'll be much happier in the ground. I'm waiting until I get a bigger garden and then I can plant all these plants in the ground where they'll be much happier. But yeah, I think that's everything. So that's the end of my summer tour. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.